Go!
3, 2, 1, ghost. Hey everybody, welcome to 3, 2, 1, Ghost. I'm your host with a silent G, Kyle, and joined always by my best pal Natalie. Hey Natalie, how are you?
Good, Kyle. How are you?
I'm good. I've had some time off before starting a new job, which is great. And I've been getting a lot into board games. That's a thing I'm trying, specifically spooky board games. That's the only reason I bring it up.
Oh no.
Because I'm like, I love horror video games. I love horror movies, of course, right? And I'm like, what other way can I engage with the genre I love so much? And trying board games out. We'll see. There's two in particular. One's called Mansions of Madness, which is a pretty well renowned. It's more like Cthulhian kind of horror situation. I'm going to drag you into trying this out with me one time. And one called Final Girl, which is just very based on like slasher movies and different types of things. So I've been up to that. I don't know. How about you?
That was Kyle's subtle sponsorship from Hasbro.
I know. I was just thinking Hasbro. I don't even know what games Hasbro.
Are they make board games, right?
They do. But
Who's the big one? Who's the big one? Now I'm not thinking of any of them off of the top of my head.
Well, you mean you got your Parker Brothers, right?
Parker Brothers. There it is.
Yeah, right. And then you got Hasbro, but Hasbro also makes like Transformers and shit. I could be wrong. It might. I don't know. But either way, that's what I've been up to.
It's important to incorporate spooky hobbies any way you can, whether it be movies, board games, video games. I've taken a pause from it, but I've been playing the Resident Evil 2. What do you call remake, remastered? I don't know what I'm saying.
It's a remake, from the ground up.
Yeah, and I was playing that for a while, and I have to say, there's something about playing like horror games. I find that to be so much scarier than watching horror movies. I feel like I'm really invested. Like it might be me that actually loses my life in this scenario. So I find them to be very exhilarating, day or night. And more difficult in my older age.
Question: did you start as Leon or Claire?
Ooh, who do you think I started as?
Probably Leon.
Good guess.
Yeah.
Good guess. That's correct.
I started as Claire.
I like Leon's path. I like Leon's path better.
Yeah, I think I do too. But gosh, yeah, I know, yeah, that game in particular. But you're right, no horror video games. I swear, we'll get to what we're talking about.
We'll get back on topic.
But, yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, oh geez, I just remember like playing the first Dead Space, with like a good headset on my Xbox 360, and dang, the shit is spooky. That remake's really good too. I played that earlier this year, and there's been a lot of good horror games this year. I mean, more specifically, like a lot of that kind of over the shoulder, somewhat action, but horror, first kind of games, yeah. So hell yeah, good for you. That one's so good. That remake is probably my favorite Resident Evil game. It's good.
My favorite too. I've played the original so many times, and even having played through it so many times, it's still like my heart rate. Like I can't play it that long because my heart rate is so accelerated the whole time.
Stressful.
It's stressful. It really is. But it's stressful fun. It's great.
That's what I like so much about Dead Space, is that you have the mechanic of well, you had to like dismember it. That was the only way you could kill these things. And then you could just, you had a stomp button. So you could just stomp their skulls in. And it was a very satisfying feeling and sound. And especially when you're, getting all of that tension and stress out, right? It's like, it feels very empowering to just stomp in the
Yeah.
brains of an alien and just be like, see, this is what you get when you try to fuck with me and crawl through the fucking, the I don't know what the vents, that's what it's called. Crawling through the vents and
Vents.
hissing and whispering and shit and throwing like limbs of other people at me. Like, I'm not having it. So stop it, and
Did you did you ever play Silent Hill?
yeah, I only played the first two. I remember the
Same.
second one more
Yeah,
than
I only played the first two and I don't recall the second one ever. Okay, here's a deep cut. Did you ever play
sure.
Dino Crisis? I don't know if that was meant to be a horror game, but it played like it wanted to be Resident Evil.
Dino Crisis. I don't think I no, I don't know. For some reason I was thinking like Turok, the dinosaur hunter or something. But like
No.
Dino Crisis, doesn't it like kind of play like Doom or something? Or am I still thinking of Turok?
No, it I want to say, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, because I probably am,
Hmm.
that it came out around the same time as Resident Evil 2. So like we're looking at the same kind of graphics, your like survival horror genre, and it instead of zombies, it was just dinosaurs. So it combined Resident Evil with Jurassic Park, and you were this hot redheaded woman. I don't know what her role in this dinosaur crisis was, but she was just badass and shooting dinosaurs. And it was fun, but no Resident Evil.
I know I'm trying to think off the top of my head. It's like, oh yeah, maybe we should do like what horror video, because there's plenty of horror video game movies, right? It's just, oh, none of them I feel like talking
Ugh,
about to any extent,
no.
right? Whether it's like I think it's pronounced Uwe Boll movies, like, Alone in the Dark, and there's a few other ones.
Mm,
And then
we could do a
I think it did
whole
House of the Dead as
episode.
well.
I think we could do a whole episode on all of them because
Yeah.
collectively they're all so disappointing. And yet I've seen, I want to say I've seen every single movie that's based off of a horror video game because I have that like tiny shred of hope that maybe, just maybe, somebody will do it right.
And you're right. Continue, and yet we are continually disappointed.
Mhm.
But gosh, well, one day we'll see. We'll talk it through. Um, Now, here I was trying to find like some cute way to segue into the movie we're talking about today, but I can't think of one, so I'm not going to. We're talking about the 2015 film by Karen Kusama, The Invitation. Not to be confused with the 2022 movie, The Invitation, which also has a dinner party, but the vampire
Yes,
one. Not watching
but
that
that's
one.
vampires. Yeah.
Yeah, that's vampire. So if you watched the 2022 invitation before watching this movie, that's okay. Just keep listening. That's okay. I mean, we're gonna spoil everything, but who knows?
No, don't.
Maybe some of our commentary will also be relevant. I don't know. Maybe we'll find some intersection where like, oh yeah, that applies to both invitations. I don't know. And with them,
We have some conflict there. I say the total opposite. Don't keep listening. Watch the invitation, the correct 2015 invitation, and then come back because spoilers are not going to make this movie fun. Like it's all about the tension.
I agree, and and I actually appreciate you bringing that up because I watching this multiple times after watching it the first time, I don't want to say diminishing returns because that's not true. I think the movie was, there when I saw it for the first time with nothing spoiled for me, that was definitely its own experience. Watching
Mm-hmm.
it each subsequent time, it's still been not, when you, it's like watching, like, like The Sixth Sense. It's like when I mean, it's like you have that first watch where everything's surprised and you're just there for the ride and it's great, and then
Yeah.
you watch it again with a little bit more like, can I, oh, are the pieces being kind of laid out in front of me? Like, where am I, are there little
Hmm.
hints and stuff that like I
Hmm.
pick up on subsequent watches, but so yeah, sure. Probably the more beneficial route would be to follow Natalie's advice. Go ahead and do
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
I'm
but
so you're saying that I'm right. I just want to get that on record. And
it's a yes and. I think that you
so yes.
are right, but you're right and
And
um throw caution to the wind. Fuck it. Stick around. It's just great to have you here. So but
I love that.
so yeah, so 2015 this I watched this on, I think it was when it was probably on Netflix. It got a pretty, very limited release, and
Hmm.
I didn't see it when it was in theaters or anything. So I remember watching it on streaming. It could have been on one of our movie nights, or maybe I watched it with my wife. I can't remember.
I do recall watching this together, but I think that there's a possibility we had both already seen it
Mhm.
previously. But because we both enjoyed it so much and it had been a while since we'd seen it, we were like, this is on Netflix, let's watch it.
The director, Karen Kusama, are you familiar with any of
She
her
has
other work?
another movie on her list that I am a fan of, and I don't remember what it was off the top of my head.
There's one big one.
Jennifer's Body
That's
is
it.
one of them.
Yeah.
I love
That's the
Jennifer's Body.
So I was not familiar with Karen Kusama, but yeah, I mean, like, gosh, like that's a movie like Jennifer's Body. I'd love to talk about that one. That's a really fun
Yeah,
one.
I agree. I think we could visit that one. I haven't watched it in such a long time, and I think it's a perfect example of a movie that didn't get enough credit when it came out, and people took
It's
it a little too literally. And then if you actually if you actually like pay attention to what's going on in that movie, it's actually a lot. It's fun and it's deeper than you think it is.
yeah, I yeah, I definitely agree. I just remember the acting being really good in it. It's
Hmm.
and dang, I forgot my thought, but yeah, well, yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of like this movie. It's kind of cult adjacent, right? As far as
Yeah.
like you're sacrificing, poor Megan Fox, for what they wanted to be like a good rock band, and they don't. Is that why they did this? Why did they
I,
sacrifice Megan Fox in
you
the
know what?
woods?
I don't remember what their reasoning
They're a
for
band with
sacrificing
like.
her was. Yeah, so this is the second movie in a row that we're talking about that is a little bit more under the radar with more
Mhm.
limited release going on. And continuing our theme of dinner parties.
I even though I was not as favorable towards Would You Rather as I think I was originally when I watched it, I did speak to great lengths about, our love for dinner party movies, and
Hmm.
especially that subgenre of horror movies. And I'm like, let's fucking go for it. Let's just cover a few of them. There's going to be a
Yeah.
few, there's definitely going to be plenty more that we're going to be covering in the future, of course. But, thought it'd be fun just to kind of continue that role. There is definitely a prominent dinner featured in this movie. And also, there's a game,
Yep.
a dumb one,
It's
but
a dumb
that
game,
seems to
but
have no
yes.
rules and make no sense. But watching that again, I forgot about that, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess there's a game in this too, because I also love games, like a some sort of a spooky haunted house movie, revolving around some sort of game.
I remembered the game, but I wasn't sure if it qualified because it's such a brief moment. And like you said, it has no real rules. It
Bearing,
feels
yeah,
very made up. Like you could make that game up in a minute and just say, this is what we're doing, everybody. You've drank enough to make this a real game.
right. The cast, it's kind of a mix of people that I did not know. You've got
Hmm.
your, we agree, is a weird different dimension version of Tom Hardy and Logan Marshall Green. It's
Yeah.
in the eyes. That's where I see it. It's in the eyes.
I couldn't figure out where I knew him from. I had to dig into his IMDb pretty deep.
Mhm.
He's been in a lot, but what I recognized him from was Devil. Did you watch that movie? Takes place mostly in an elevator.
In an elevator? No, but
Hmm.
I remember the it's like produced by M. Night Shyamalan, right?
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. I think I just remember that trailer a lot. And it's just like, yeah, mostly people in an elevator. One of them's the devil, right? Is it him? You can spoil it for me.
No, it's not him.
Okay, well, all right. I'll have to
He's
find out.
he's a mechanic. So I don't even know that he actually has that much time in the movie, but
Clearly
I
not
did
an
enjoy
elevator
that
mechanic.
movie. Yeah, I no, no. He's an airplane mechanic. Not
That's like
really.
some like
Not
being like,
really.
is there a
No.
oh you've
I
got
couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
yeah. And, you know, and then a lot of people that, you know, like just a mix of like people that have just been, you know, TV movies. You have
Mhm.
probably the only other person I recognized outside of my designated industry legends are oh geez, I'm gonna fuck up his name, but it's like it looks like it's Michael, but it's like Michelle almost, so like Michiel,
I have no
who
idea how to
plays
say
David.
his name. Yeah.
I knew him from he's the oldest brother in the first season of Haunting of Hill House,
Yes.
which he was
Which
great
I
in.
love. Hmm.
There's that episode with like when they're in the funeral parlor, you know, at
Hmm.
the sister's house, and like, you know, they just do like the whole episode takes place there. um
Yeah.
I'll have to find out what episode it is, and so I could reference this better, but he has like all like the all-time award for best reaction to a ghost that I've ever seen. And it's like when he's like by himself and he like kind of like turns around and then he sees like the dead sister or something just like standing up out, and then he just doesn't he's like doesn't even pause to look, he just continues turning and just goes like ugh, just takes a just finishes his drink. But like I don't even sell it well enough, but like I thought that was hilarious. But so I know
That's
him,
great.
and then I don't know, is there anybody else you recognize in this movie?
Yes, actually. And I again had to dig into IMDb as well. I did recognize John Carroll Lynch.
That was going to be my industry legend, because
He's
there's two.
yeah, like he I recognized him and I thought to myself, I was like, I've seen him in so many things and yet I can't think of one. And then as I was going through his IMDb, he's in quite a few things that I've seen. He's played a lot of sheriffs and cops and prison guards. Like that's
He's
his
got that
like go
look.
because he's a big guy. Like he's got to be tall.
The main thing I remember growing up was the Drew Carey show, where he
Yes.
plays um, Drew Carey's brother,
Yes, that one I
who
had to
then
dig deep
marries.
for
Yeah.
in my
He
memory.
he was also in Zodiac, the David Fincher Zodiac movie, where
Mm-hmm.
he plays like they insinuate like he is the Zodiac killer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in that, and
He's
he's
I
just
remembered him from Shutter Island as well.
right, right.
Oh, he's
Both
also in
movies,
Gothica as a
yeah.
sheriff.
Hell yeah. Oh gosh, Gothica. That's fun. So yeah, I mean, yeah, so yeah.
So yeah, so he goes on your industry legend list.
Yes, I love John Carroll Lynch. He is in a lot of stuff. And then also industry legend Toby Huss,
I knew it.
popping up as Dr. Joseph, only showing up via laptop, in
Hmm.
some sort of California backyard somewhere, Central California looking backyard somewhere, um,
Yeah, in
who is known for a few different things. I mean, I feel like most recently he was in the first of the he was the 2018 Halloween,
yeah.
where he was Judy Greer's husband who gets his skull kind of mashed in via thumb, and then he was in a really, really kick-ass but short-lived HBO show called Carnival in the early 2000s. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and probably for people our age, he's most known for playing Artie, the strongest man in the world on The Adventures of Pete and Pete. That's where I knew him first. So that's enough. I want to say, if that doesn't qualify you for industry legend status, I don't really know what does. So like, I understand that I throw that term out a lot, but hey, if the shoe fits, right?
I think Pete and Pete counts. He just has a very long list of just so many television shows and movies that he's been in, and he's always fantastic in everything. So even though we only get a little taste of Toby in this,
Yeah.
it's on the world's clearest, crispest video you've ever seen on a laptop screen.
I know, no kidding. He also he's done a lot of voice work, but I probably more prominently for King of the Hill, where he
Hmm.
plays Cotton Hill, as well as the neighbor Con, which is a little problematic, just because it's kind of like the
Yeah,
Hank Azaria Apu situation, where you're like,
yeah,
I know they were talking about rebooting King of the Hill, and I thought about that, and I was like, that'd be a good one to recast,
yeah.
with with a Laotian actor, right, instead of
Hmm.
Toby Huss. So, but hey, industry legend still, but we can grow. But yeah, the cast is great here. I mean, I think actually the cast is great except for maybe one or two, but I think
Ooh, I'm curious to see who you single out.
Ben, definitely Ben. But I also see that
Really?
he has the fewest credits of anybody in the cast. And you know what? Not to shit on that guy. He plays like that kind of goofy pal friend kind of thing. But I think the
Well,
way
and
some of the lines are a little stilted. That's all.
he probably they probably could have chosen someone stronger for that role because he actually goes through like quite a range of emotions compared to a lot of the other characters because he has that like altercation with Eden in the kitchen, and then he also, he gets really excited for the game, and like he goes through like every single emotion that's possible. It like besides him, I don't think that any of the other side characters experience that. They're all kind of a little bit more one note, a little easier.
My extensive research into the Wikipedia page here. Now, when the movie was announced a few years prior to it coming out, they had some pretty well-known names attached to
Hmm,
this. Luke Wilson,
interesting.
Zachary Quinto,
Hmm.
Topher Grace,
Wow.
and Johnny Galecki as well, who most people probably know from what's that fucking I keep wanting to say Third Rock from the Sun. What's the name of that other what's that
Um,
show?
I know what now I don't have it because you have it at the tip of your tongue and now it's gone for me.
Right? I know like the Bare Naked Ladies do the theme for it. I don't know why I know that, but
Because we
fuck.
love people, please.
It's because I didn't watch that show, so I don't know. But I know Johnny Galecki from Roseanne, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, as well as like that weird remake of
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory. Thank you. I know. I'm sure people are listening to this
I
just
refuse. I was
screaming
like,
it.
yes,
Like,
I was
how do
like,
y'all
I'm not
not
going to look it up. I'm going to get it out of this memory bank.
Third Rock from the Sun? That's the one. Also a pretty fun show. But yes. So I mean, geez, I like that. Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to. Like, I think everybody in this movie is really good. Even Ben. Who am I kidding? Come on, he's fun. But
I
I
do
think with that
too.
cast, that would have been really fun too. With those four,
Hmm. Yeah,
it doesn't
I
say who
agree.
would play who, but
They lost all of them, apparently.
yeah. Um. So the other thing too about this movie is, so this movie is about a cult.
Hmm.
And they're pretty clear about that pretty early on,
Yes.
like when the weirdness kind of sets in, and they call it out, being like, "Oh, bro, this is a fucking cult. You're trying to show me a cult video." But the thing that's so interesting is, we both grew up, and you still live in Southern California.
Mhm.
where this movie takes place, in Los Angeles. Um, I mean, cults, like, it was just kind of normal as a kid growing up. I think there were a number of, famous cults, especially. Yeah, like I know that there's like, geez, of course I'm not going to remember the names of any of them, but like, there was the one like up kind of in between us and Oregon, and there's like Waco out in Texas, as far as like the big ones that like had that a lot of that
Mhm.
notoriety or infamy or whatever. But then, I think of like, obviously like, the Manson cult, and then you have
Mhm.
San Diego, like Heaven's Gate. That was a really big deal in the 90s, and that's just, that's just up the 15 freeway from you, right? Because I
Yeah.
think that was like in like Rancho Penasquitos or Poway or something like that. One of where and all those little tiny kind of mansions are.
Yeah, I actually really like that whether or not they're in a cult isn't the mystery of the movie. It's
Right.
like how dark is it going to go at this dinner party? And that helps to build the tension. So, once that's already introduced, what I think is interesting, I David even brings it up. I think he mentions the fact that they live in LA. He says, like, we live in LA, we're smart people, and like is giving credit to the cult through like their credibility as like California residents and having like he was a record, he worked for a record label and things like that. Um, but I love reading about cults. I don't know about you,
Well,
but
this is anecdotal, so like we'll run this up to the research team to verify, but that's kind of the thing is that, especially because they were so kind of regular growing up. And what I mean by that is not like, necessarily things like, something like Heaven's Gate going on all the time. But I
Mhm.
remember there was there's a restaurant off Adams Ave, a couple blocks from where I lived in San Diego, where the restaurant was owned by, a cult that, lived out kind of in the hills. And then also there is there's a spot in San Marcos, a restaurant that is also, connected. It's like, a cult is everyone's interpretation of what that is
it's
a little
a
different.
it's a really big umbrella that can fit many different things. What
Yeah.
makes California, in my opinion, what makes California a susceptible place for things like cults is it's a lot of transplants and
Yeah.
there's a longing and sense for community and belonging. And if you're in a position where you're lonely or you don't have friends, family, whatever it may be, or like this particular cult preys on people who have experienced extreme grief and are going through something extremely traumatic and they should be going to therapy, seeking help. And of course, he found Eden in a support group, which I thought was interesting because I almost feel as though he wasn't at that support group to actually get support, but probably to find people who would be a good fit for this cult. And it's called The
Yeah.
Invitation. So I'm assuming that that's implying that you're recruiting people and extending an invitation into this group to them.
Well, Jesus. The invitation into the group is only going to last a couple hours because.
Well, it seems as though there's a difference between okay, this is how I'm interpreting the dinner invitation versus the invitation into the cult. So you've got
Mhm.
Eden and David. They're viewing themselves as chosen ones. He refers to themselves as being chosen towards the end of the film. And it seems as though those are the people that are chosen to then choose, like they get to go to this better place and go back to their lost family, loved ones, whoever they're grieving for, and they get to take them their friends and family that they choose with them. So if I was chosen and I had been in this cult and I'm completely brainwashed, you would then receive an invitation as one of my
Aw,
best
thanks.
friends to my dinner party in which I would murder you.
Aw, I appreciate you. Well, I mean,
Right?
that's
Yeah.
already, I'm blushing a little bit.
Look at
Thank you.
that. See? That's
That,
how special you are. But that's how so they're not invited into the cult. Like they don't need to actually buy into it. They just need to be there. And I think part of them showing the video and explaining to them that you don't have to experience pain and dying isn't scary is a way to make themselves feel better about what they're about to do to that group of people.
right. Yeah, that checks out. That makes sense. Gosh, poor David doesn't have any friends. Oh, I guess he does invite. He's like, I guess he invites fucking John Carroll Lynch
Pruitt,
and,
yeah.
Pruitt and Sadie, um,
Oh, two
both
of the
very fun
creepiest people
characters.
to have ever existed.
I
Like they
know.
make me so uncomfortable every time they're in the room, both of them for completely different reasons.
It's like already enough when you have like a reconvening of old friends and then someone just invites like two random ass fucking people and you're just like, oh, come on,
Yeah.
what's this?
And
And then already just exacerbated by the fact that, fucking this one lady's going all over the place, like currently, or clearly high off something. And
mhm,
then John Carroll was like, just, oh my God, that speech about killing his wife and is just so much for me. And it's, I mean, it's good, it's captivating. I'm like, oh
it's
my
so
God, this
good.
dude is all over the place and just all the stuff that's going on behind his eyes as he's like telling this story. Again, industry legend, JCL.
Imagine being in that room and hearing this story because in your mind, or at least the first time I watched it, I was like, oh man, he lost his wife to cancer or a terrible tragic
Right.
car accident, something of that nature. But no, he accidentally, I'm saying that in that tone because he still struck her, so intended to hurt her and
You
killed her.
you sound like you're
But
defending him in court right now. I'm like,
no,
he straight up murdered her.
no, I'm not
Murdered
defending
her.
him. What I'm saying is from like the way that he describes it, like he is not describing this as murder, and that would only make me 100 times more uncomfortable. The way that he tells the story is so perfect. I would be like, who the fuck is this man? Why is he here? Like so many red flags. There's so many red flags in this movie, and Will is the only one who is noticing any of them.
And poor Claire.
Yeah, poor
Right? Is that
Claire.
yeah.
Yeah,
She
we'll
got
we'll get
she yeah.
we can
So
we can go back to Claire because I'm very curious. One thing that I did want to say about this movie, I think this might have like the highest Rotten Tomatoes score of any of the movies that we've talked about so far.
we that was one thing that, I don't know if we made clear enough in the beginning, in the beginning episodes, but generally the movies we pick, you know what? Just society's lagging, hasn't really caught up to the genius of some of these movies. I give Urban
Yeah.
Legend 4 booze, and the general movie watching consensus hard disagrees with me, but this one, I'm glad you brought that up because this is the first. No, never mind. Would You Rather did get a positive Rotten Tomatoes score, but this is one that like actually like is deemed like a good movie.
It has an 89% on
That's
Rotten
good.
Tomatoes, which is really great, and then a 69% audience score. And one of the things that I do think is interesting, depending on what you're looking at, whether it be IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, Wikipedia, it fits into different genres on almost all of them. So, like on Rotten Tomatoes, it lists it as a mystery, thriller, drama. Doesn't even have horror in there, which I disagree. But on IMDb, it does have it listed as horror.
It's debatable. I could see. I think this leans more into thriller than say Would You Rather does. Would You
Oh,
Rather is
well,
just the violence, definitely.
that
Even though it's a pretty
comparison.
violent movie, but yeah, I mean, just yeah, gosh, it's funny that you bring up the red flags because at first I was thinking like, oh yeah, it'd be fun to kind of go through this movie and talk through like when each of us would be like, nope, nope, we're getting the
Absolutely.
fuck out of there. But I've got a
That's in my
feeling,
notes.
okay, because I'm going to say I
It's in my
have.
notes.
Well, so let's maybe talk through, and we'll
Let's
see where our jump off
let's start
point
with the
is.
first. Can we start with the first red flag? It's at the immediate beginning of the movie, and it's that heavy, fancy dinner party invitation. Never in my life. I've never even been invited to a wedding that had that lovely invitation. No offense to anyone's weddings that I've been to who are
I mean,
listening, but it
pretty
looked
nice
like it was like
invitations.
it looked like they were like leather bound. It was so extravagant. I I feel like everyone was underdressed for how that invitation looked.
Right, because well, I mean, I guess, I mean for what's her name? Eden?
Mm-hmm.
For Eden and David, like they know this is our last party. So let's
Yeah,
let's
spare
go
no
all stuff.
expense.
Let's we put all of our budget into those invitations.
We'd have
And
butterflies flying out of the invitation.
oh yeah. And so I guess to everybody else, they're just like, okay, whatever. The other thing too is, they make such a big deal about how it's been, so long since everyone's seen each other, but
Mm.
maybe it's just because I'm old and I have a very close group of friends that I'll see often. You're on that list. 2 years, I'm like, I don't know. There's a lot of people that I care about that I haven't seen in 2 years. There's a lot of people I care about I haven't seen since my wedding. That was 5 years ago. So I'm kind of like, everyone makes it seem like this is like this super long time, like a decade since you've seen each other. But I don't know. I'm like, hey, sometimes you miss a text. Sometimes life gets in the way. Next thing you know, it's a few years later and you haven't seen somebody. But I don't know.
Well, Walt, I completely agree with what you just said. I'll start by saying that. But while I agree with you, it seems as though all of them still live in close proximity. So there's
Yeah,
that. And
it is
if
Los
they
Angeles
were,
though.
yeah, but if they were all, I know it takes like 45 minutes to get anywhere at minimum. But if they were close enough friends that like people who don't have children were at a child's birthday party, like those friends are hanging out regularly. That's
Right.
it. I'm not inviting people who don't have children to my child's birthday party. I'm not going to put them through that. Like those are close fucking friends. So I feel like 2 years would be a long time for them, but to not have spoken, seen each other, because, Gina implies that they, hadn't reached out to Will in those 2 years. So yeah, it's an interesting, it would be very strange to receive like a formal dinner party invitation from someone who used to be such a close friend. You were with them all the time, and then all of a sudden 2 years is like this really huge gap of time for all of you.
As far as red flags, the first red flag I thought you were going to mention, just like in general, the movie, a red flag in the movie itself, but dang, I tried to make it very clear in the beginning how I feel about dog deaths in movies, and
It's a
coyotes count.
coyote.
Coyotes count, I
Okay,
think,
I wasn't
and
sure.
but then I go ahead and I'm like glowing about urban legend, and then I rate this movie very highly, and but I'm like I forgot. I was like, fuck, I forgot. It's a fucking coyote, and there isn't a there's you could take that out entirely. I don't think it's necessarily needed. It doesn't have the same. I don't know. I don't think it has the
It's
same kind of impact.
They want it to have an impact that I don't think is caught. My interpretation is seeing Will Mercy kill the coyote has some sort of symbolism that I did not catch on to. That is my theory that has no no reasoning to it. But I do agree that you could take it out.
Yeah, like I thought there was going to be a more like, more kind of like one to one kind of line drawn between, as, Eden's dying and
Yes.
she asks to, be taken outside or whatever. I wasn't sure if there's like mercy, but like it's in a different way, like maybe that
Yeah.
coyote was like, if that coyote could talk, maybe it was like, take me over to the creek, down the road. Let me, what are you
He's
doing with
like,
that
nope.
tire iron? you
Yeah.
know?
It's like,
So
nope, not for you.
that's where I'm just, again, that's what I'm confused by that part, and
I
that is what.
wonder, I wonder if there's some alternate cut where he does mercy kill Eden because she's in pain and dying and he kills her rather than bringing her to that spot and letting her die there.
I
Maybe.
feel like I feel like it would be. I mean, I guess like a more kind of cleaner, easier, like, oh, I see what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing there, kind of thing. But I don't
But
know.
yeah, I
So
agree.
it's
It's unnecessary.
But so good on Kira, by the way, for being, just a real MVP of a girlfriend, and
She
good
is
on her. If she left him
she
like
is
right
the
after this
MVP.
movie, I would be like, that makes perfect sense. Go for
Oh,
it.
I'm leaving him in that situation. Absolutely not. Like she was already taking on a lot.
Oh
There's
yeah.
obviously he's still going through a lot. He still has a lot of pain, a lot of grieving. Um and she just rolls with the punches throughout this entire awkward dinner party. And her inclusion in the group is so great because it's a nice, easy way to get everybody's names out right off the bat. So you get to meet everyone because
Right.
they're introducing themselves to Kira. And yeah, she's great. She handles this pretty well, but she definitely, the only thing she does wrong in the girlfriend role is if my significant other was telling me that they were feeling weird and that something wasn't right and like noticing all these red flags, even if I didn't believe it, I'd say, you know what, let's just go. This is awkward. Let's just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I don't want to be at your fucking ex-wife's house anyway. Yeah,
No.
you
It's
give
she's
me
just
any
making moon eyes
reason.
at you.
Yeah, if you
Like,
give me any reason that you want to go, I'm like, yeah, let's get the fuck out of here. Let's go. Yeah, let's go catch a movie over at the.
yeah.
Let's go to Universal Studios.
When
Let's
she licks, when Eden licks her thumb and wipes the blood off of Will's cheek and then immediately introduces herself to Kira, I'd be like, you don't have any fucking napkins in this beautiful large house? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like, no,
Well, and that's
absolutely
what I'm
not.
and that's what I'm talking about in terms of like red flags. It's like, well, it's like I think you and I would be you and I would not be at that house to begin with.
No.
No, it's not
So
like
many strange circumstances.
so many. And it's hard. It's like I get it. It's like, it's the it's like when you have the shared kid, that makes it hard. But yeah.
There, that's such an unusual thing because, having a child with someone makes you forever tethered to that person in one way or another, whether they're involved in the child's life or not, the child passes away or not. Like you're tethered to that person in an emotional capacity,
And not
and
we're
if
not
not a
talking about tethered.
responsibility.
And just to be clear, we're not talking about being tethered like an Insidious, but or
No.
maybe.
Just to be clear, not that type of tethered.
Okay.
But yeah, like I feel for Will and Eden, even in through all of that, like skipping way too far through the movie, through all of that, when he does bring her to that spot where their son passed away, I
mhm.
cry every time I watch this movie. It makes me cry because I feel for him having that sympathy for her because he is the only person who knows the pain that she's going through. And he's like, this drove you to do this. And I think that's where his mercy is that
Yeah.
he's like forgiving her for that and bringing her to that spot because he knows like obviously she's talking all that shit like she's not in pain and all of her actions are speaking otherwise. So Yeah. I don't remember where I was going with that point, but it makes me cry every time.
Will's much nicer than I am. I remember just watching that movie. I'd be
Oh
like,
yeah.
no, give her fucking nothing. When
Yeah,
when
just
she's
leave her
like
there to
saying,
die.
"I'm sorry," I'd be like, "Fucking no, you're not. No, you're not.
Yeah,
Just go ahead and
he's
fucking die."
he's
I know
nicer
I'm an
than I
asshole.
am. No, I absolutely agree.
You
I
killed
think
all
about
our
a
friends.
situation like that. You killed all of our best friends that we've
Yeah,
known for however many years. Like there's no excuse for that. Like
yeah. No, we're
he
good.
and I maybe that's where that mercy kill of the coyote comes in. I mean, he didn't have to, it was pretty rough, but yeah.
I would think if
I
he did mercy kill the coyote, but then has the option to mercy kill her and chooses not to, and say, fuck you, and just walk off. It's like kind of I was gonna make that no, never mind. Don't worry about it. I'll edit that part out. Or maybe not. I don't know. But
maybe not. So
just
you meet everybody in this group with the exception of Sadie, who's just in
and
the
Choi.
back room, and Troy. Well, they make a
Fucking
point.
Choi.
They make a point to make sure that you know that Troy's not there the whole entire movie, which I love.
Choi.
But Sadie,
Choi. Choi.
oh, it is that
Yeah.
dude. I feel like they're all saying Troy so hard.
Common
I'm
name.
gonna have to double check this.
I think it's Choi. Let
I
me
need to double check because
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I got it right here.
holy shit this whole time. Well, their pronunciation is terrible. Um, yeah, so you meet everyone in the room except for Sadie, who's just creeping in the bedroom with no pants. Like that's full frontal that's happening there as a silhouette,
I'd be like,
right?
if you
She's
cut out
not,
all the other weird stuff and you just want to walk around without pants on, like, that's okay, I guess. But yeah, just stop with all the other weird stuff. You know?
yeah. Yeah, she's my least favorite person in this movie, and not because she adds so much like interest and weirdness and uncomfortability to the movie, but because if I was in that situation, I'd be watching that girl like a hawk. There's no trust there. She is clearly unstable. There's a lot
especially
going
she's
on.
walking especially she's walking around without pants on. I
Yeah.
wonder if that was, I mean, I think it would have been funnier if she went the whole movie or without pants on, because just to see how much crazy they're willing to
Yeah.
put up with, to be like, whatever, she's walking around.
Yeah, because she's
Just
really pushing it. She's really pushing it.
how many of the horn dogs in the group would just be like, oh, come on, let her be a little weird, it's fine,
Yeah, let her not wear pants. You're
let's
being
go to the pool.
anti-feminist.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, gosh. So the whole group, right? So you meet everybody, and then everyone's doing their, there's just kind of check-ins. Hey, how you been? It feels. I mean, there were other kids there at that birthday party, right? Like, where did
Ben
any of
has
those other
kids.
kids? Ben has two kids, right? But nobody
Hmm.
else says they have kids. And even if that's the case, I wonder why they didn't bring the kids too. Don't you think the dead kid would want friends? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, there are other kids there, but not all of them have children. So I'm assuming that there are other parents there that are friends who are not in this group.
Yeah.
Like
The
we're
and everyone's introducing themselves to each other. Choi's running a little late.
very
You've
late.
got uh they talk about the phone lines being out, but you see David on the phone right before John Carroll Lynch shows up.
Hmm.
Um and then you start noticing things like he's locking the door, and the bars on the
Hmm.
windows, and he kind of talks it through, talks it away like it's some break-ins in the neighborhood.
There's
um
no reason why your door should lock from the inside, right? Am I wrong in thinking that? Like lock like with a key from the inside.
right. Well, and that would
That
be
is
my thing. I'd be like,
clearly especially like
Yeah.
they made it. I like that they made a point that Will noticed that and wasn't okay with it, because my first thought would have been, oh, they had a young child and they didn't want him to be able to like run out into like off to the hill or something. So maybe they had a key lock from the inside, but clearly they're not watching him anyway. Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I'm like, yeah, clearly that well, they didn't have to test that theory.
but yeah, so David's locking this door. All of those things, again, like major red flags. I feel like I would even go at him even more than Will did when he says that there was a break-in, in the neighborhood, and he says I didn't hear about it. Like that doesn't matter. Who locks their door from the inside with a key?
Yeah, like fucking, like I don't know, like what's his face and Wadsworth and Clue,
Yeah.
right? So Will's already noticing some of these things, but then also at the same time, like is walking through the house, reliving some memories, some good, and some
Mm-hmm.
not, trigger warning. There is that there's a scene of an attempted suicide,
Mm-hmm.
um, just to show that just
Which
how
is really
much
brutal.
is
that
really brutal.
that like it's a very short moment, like it's a quick moment, but boy is it impactful, and it tells you so much about Eden's character like in a moment, and Will's character like in the dynamic of their relationship both before and after child loss.
Well, and that's like the other, what would have been a real like red flag for me is just like kind of all this talk about like no, especially what she talks like she's like on something too. Everything's so
Oh yeah.
whispery, and
Yeah,
talking
he
about
points
how
that he points that out too.
yeah, there's a way to just make all pain go away. You just float through life and don't even have to worry. And it's just like,
i'd
I
say
mean,
I'd say, is it drugs? Is that what like I would think she's
right.
just talking about drugs, like with the way that she's acting, because they make it a point that it's not just Will who notices how strange she's acting, it's the entire group.
Right. And I'm not here to tell someone how to process through trauma. I mean, I think I would make a nice healthy suggestion to not murder all your friends. Um but it's
We're
so
not doctors. So
and then you have David just being kind of a tool, just I did think it's funny that Eden must have a type. I feel like those guys like look alike too, just kind of like the shaggier like brunette with the beard.
yeah.
you know, I feel like I was like, oh, I just put in my notes. I'm like, oh, she is a type. That's okay.
Hmm. Also, I need to just throw it out there that Will, when he was happily married with child, clean shaven, was not working for me. That messy beard, the long hair, looking a little disheveled, much better. Much, much better. Huge
The
improvement for him.
the what would they call it? Like the dirty dish rag
Yeah,
beard or whatever.
absolutely. Absolutely. Let's
Uh,
keep that. The when she starts talking about pain being optional, they're already starting to like introduce that cult dynamic. I love that
when
she
we were
has
in
that moment where
Mexico,
yeah, I love that
yeah.
she just slaps Ben right in the face in the kitchen.
Well, Ben's a real dickhead. I mean, he's like, because like,
Well,
even like
yeah.
after she leaves, he's like, y'all need to learn to just, like, you got to just let it go. And I'm like, bro, if anyone, you're the only one that we know in this entire house that also has kids. Like
Yeah.
you would think, right? But like, that's why I'm just like, dude, Ben's just a fucking asshole, you know?
Yeah, he's all over the place.
And,
He might be my least favorite of the friend group.
and I was trying to, when I was first talking about how saying all the acting is good, maybe except for him. Maybe no, maybe the acting is really good because I really do think that dude fucking sucks. And
Yeah.
but I still think some of that like line delivery is a little stilted, But
Hmm.
he's a comedian, this person, so I'll still look into
Oh,
that.
interesting.
But sure, go ahead.
Do you feel that So we know these are friends who haven't seen each other in 2 years, but they're all very close. And you're
Mhm.
watching them like kind of dip in and out of conversations and pull each other into different rooms and start conversations. Do you feel that the way that they conversate is realistic? That's probably my only, I think that's the only thing that kind of bothers me about the movie is their conversations feel, I don't know, they just feel so strange. Like the fact, I think Gina says, I can't believe you didn't tell us about the coyote immediately upon entering. And it's like, well, you haven't seen me in 2 years. So I'm probably going to say, like, hi, how are you? Like, get a
Yeah,
temperature
it's not,
check on your life before I just say, like, oh man, I had to mercy kill a coyote on the side of the road. Can you believe that? Like, it, I don't know.
it's not, yeah.
That felt a little bit weird to me. And it's not like the way that they're acting it out, just some of the things, like Claire pulls Will to the stairs and just says, ask me a question. And that felt super weird. But
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I think is like very weird and off-putting in the way that they interact anyway. And there's something that, I think a really big asterisk you could put on a lot of things in this movie is that people will watch this movie and think this isn't believable. And even just like the way like these people interact with each other. But I do think that a lot of this movie is distinctly LA,
yeah,
and people in LA, like I don't know, I believe like just the weird.
it's a
I don't know.
little bit more believable.
I think so too. I think it's I can't put my finger on it. We would need to, and I think most people that live in LA could watch that movie and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's how, I
Yeah.
think that's how
Yeah.
friend groups in their 30s, kind of operate.
Yeah,
But
it doesn't take me out of it at all. It was just this specific watch that I felt there were like there was no need for them to act strange because you're trying to hone in on like how odd the actual red flags are like going, and at no point do I think that anyone in the friend group has any idea of what's actually going on other than Will.
so, they're talking about, they keep alluding to their time in Mexico, Eden, David, and Sadie, and they're like, what is this thing y'all have been doing? Like what, like, like the questions start coming up because they keep kind of softly introducing it, like really early on too. That's why I'm thinking like, the cult thing isn't necessarily like
Yeah.
a shock or surprise to anybody, but they, it's almost kind of one of these, it's like, what are y'all talking about? You keep bringing this up. And then they're like, oh, you want to see so you want to see a video? Yeah, let me grab the video and show you. And everyone's
Yeah.
like, we did not say that. I have no
Yeah,
interest.
and
You keep bringing
they're
this
all
up. Yeah.
they're all like super suspicious right off the bat. They're like, is this a recruitment video? What are we about to watch? And of course, as soon as it starts, you're like, oh yeah, this is totally a recruitment video. Like Toby Huss
You've
sitting
never
in the circle,
you've never been
chatting
to
it
a
up.
party where like it gets to that one point in the evening where like someone's like, "Oh my god, I got to show you this YouTube video." And then someone just wants to sit and show YouTube videos to everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know. See, I'm like, so that's like,
Yeah.
again, believable. I'm like, sure, y'all want to show me your weird video on your laptop. Okay, let's all sit and watch your laptop. Y'all don't
Yeah.
have like a TV or like something a little nicer to put that on. I'm
Oh,
like, if you're gonna sell this to people, you like, let's get me comfortable. Let's like really like put me in the. You have the theater room upstairs
yeah,
where,
that would have been a perfect setting for that. Absolutely. That's so
yeah,
funny that you say that because there's that big, beautiful house that has a home theater. And I never thought to myself, they should be watching this on a laptop.
yeah. Why are they all sitting around watching it like on your like shitty little fucking MacBook speakers? Like, what's going on? Even though,
Maybe it's because they wanted to make sure that they kind of like sneak attacked them with this video. Like if they would have tried to get them to go to the home theater, they'd be like, oh no, like here it comes, we're gonna watch this recruitment video. Whereas the laptop just kind of comes out of nowhere. Just pop that puppy right on that table.
you just get a USB. You just get an HDMI cable and just plug it into the TV upstairs and be like, "Oh, here, let me show you up here." So we all don't have to, whatever. You
Yeah.
can introduce that. Maybe I'd be
Yeah,
better
I
at getting people into
really
cults. I don't know.
I don't remember who it was in the group. Might have been Kira, points out
Mhm.
pretty quickly that she's like, that woman in the video did not look ill. And
Yeah.
she's like, she looks like she could have been older than 30. And Eden quickly says that it was cancer. And I'm like, that woman looked like she had a flu. Like
Yeah.
she did not look, she's right. Like she did not look ill at all. And Claire was just not, she was not into it. Like
And does Claire
she's
leave between the video and the game, or does she leave after the
no,
game?
she's there for the beginning of the game. I actually think one of my favorite things that Will says, my one of my favorite lines that he says in this movie, in the entire movie, I don't know why, it feels so genuine and real after the video is over. He says, I just don't understand why you'd show something like that at a dinner party, David.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
it was like that felt so real to me. I was like, yeah, absolutely, Will. That is thank you for like just there's the elephant in the room. Like, why the
Yeah.
fuck did we all just watch someone die together as a group?
See, so the
I would
next
not be
time,
happy with
so the next time I bore people about the board games I'm playing, I, I can be like, look, there's a lot of awful hobbies that people try to show other
that.
people. So, on the spectrum, it's not so bad. Um,
Yeah.
so, they played this video and it was like, what the fuck? And then, they just do this
It's
kind
like,
of
what did we
talk
just
away
watch?
kind of bullshit, like, oh yeah, see, no one
Mm-hmm.
feels pain and blah 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 blah, and then it transitions into this very just off the cuff game that's like really
The
not a game.
I
It's
want
just kind of,
game.
and then even then, you need to set boundaries and parameters for this kind of situation. Like I'm like, well, okay, like,
There
I
are
want.
that's I think that's the best part. There's no parameters and it because there's no parameters, I like what what is his name? The one in the blue shirt. He says he wants a blowjob.
Mhm.
Miguel's partner, Tommy.
Tommy.
Tommy says he wants a blowjob. I'm like skipping ahead, but after all the shit that they just went through, he says he wants a blowjob, and I would bet if that game continued, like he would have gotten his wish. He didn't care who it was, but
But fucking vibe killer
I
John Carroll Lynch.
yes, literally. I as I was watching it, I feel this was a game to test what they would allow to happen and just kind of push them a little bit to see like how they could break through some boundaries. And obviously, what three out of the four people who actually take a turn of this game are already part of the invitation. Gina she's like, give me some of that good coke.
Yeah.
she, I was like, you have a good time, Gina, because you're gonna be the first to go.
Dude, and then everyone's, yeah, like, dude, everyone just picks something fun, and then you've got, yeah, fucking Pruitt, who's then talks through
Just
how he
ruins the vibe completely.
just straight up murdered his wife. He said that he did 7 years. Do you think 7 years is enough time for killing your wife?
I mean, obviously, no. As a
Yeah,
wife, I'd be pretty pissed
a little bit.
if my husband murdered me and only had to serve 7 years. And then also was saying shit like, there's no pain, there's no guilt. I'd be haunting him, literally haunting him every day of his damn miserable life,
Absolutely.
in or out of prison.
Good for him. Good for him that he doesn't have to feel guilt. That's fun.
Yeah, that must be nice for him. Yeah, I will say though, him delivering that story and that like whole monologue is so great. It's
Yeah.
it really is a lot to hear, and I can't even imagine being in that room and being one of those guests and listening to that story and then continuing to have dinner with this person. That would be rough. You just met this person, and obviously Claire is
No, thank you.
right on
I'm out.
board. So okay, so let's take a little pause there.
Yeah.
Would you leave when Claire left, or do you think you'd still be in it?
Let me. Well, I'll sidestep the fact that I would have never gone to begin with to this fucking
That's
house.
not an option. That's not an option.
And yeah, so it's if that's not an option for me, I mean, already just like the locking doors, that would do it for me. The bars on the windows, and
Mm.
then they show the video. Even before the video, or sorry, actually at the video is when I'd be like, nope, I'm out, I'm good. I wouldn't want to stick around for that fucking game. I'm good.
I
I
would be
want
out
to
at the
leave.
video.
That's my game of I want, right? And so I guess Claire got her turn, right? So, but I know I was watching it with my wife, and she's like, I'd like to think Claire made it out, but
Oh,
that's
she
totally not.
definitely did not.
No,
Absolutely
not at
not.
all. When he
And
steps back out of the car, and then like, hey, actually, hey, one more thing, I
and it's
also,
just out of view, like just out of view where you can see the back of the Prius, but not the front. But the amount of time that it took Pruitt to get back into the house tells me that Claire is not alive. But
yeah,
before I saw the end of the movie and they started just shooting people willy-nilly, I thought there might have been a chance that she got out of there since Choi wasn't even at the party yet and they were just going with things as normal. He could
yeah.
have showed up so late that everybody could have been dead at the table.
I know that would be pretty funny
That
if,
would have been funny. Yeah, if they all died at the table, then he's like, I'm here.
right?
Some grand entrance and everybody's just dead.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I put in the notes. Did Claire make it out? I hope she did, but she definitely didn't.
She definitely
Um,
did not. R.I.P.
no.
Claire.
So, they get to, I think there's maybe some conversation before they shuffle over to the dinner scene, and I think
Very
at some
important
point
conversation.
between
Okay,
who,
so when you get that Will watching out the window, he's watching Claire leave, which I love because I think he's just the right amount of suspicious of everything that's happening. You have David who cuts him off from watching what's going on and distracts him, which is perfect timing for that. But okay, this is a really fun question and I hope you're able to answer it. So David confronts him, right? And he basically is like, dude, what the fuck is going on? You've been suspicious of me the whole night. You've been suspicious of my friend. You're watching him out the window. And he, like, knowing full well that he is up to no good and they're going to murder everyone at the end of the night. Don't laugh at me. That is like, that's what gaslighting is, right? I feel like I've never quite understood exactly what gaslighting is, but if that's not gaslighting, I don't know what is.
I
Is
think it's
that
just, yeah, I think to
right?
intentionally kind of like redivert, confuse somebody, make them question what they're believing, right? Um, and being like, no, I'm the person you can trust. And like, also, not even has he only known Will has only known Pruitt for like what, an hour at this point. He's
Yeah.
also only known David for, like, has he ever met David before at this point? Like, this new
That I'm
person that,
unclear on.
yeah. So it's like, that's why I'm like, Will, I'm like, I don't even know who the fuck you are, bro. So
Yeah.
let's not even, why do I need to trust you? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's definitely gaslighting.
And, okay, good. I'm glad that I solved that mystery.
I just think that, and we talk about, yeah, like different like points of exit. Like I think with especially the older I get, with any social event I go to, I have like a plan A, plan B, plan C for reasons to leave if I need to,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, yeah, it's like, so I can pre-plan exits from any social event. So I'll have already had like, oh well, okay, let's, can we still say we have this going on? Can we still say, well, I guess you wouldn't have a babysitter, but maybe someone's dog sitting, right? That's why I love my dogs because it always gives me like, dogs
You've
shouldn't
got a
be,
limit on hours that you can be out of the house. Yeah.
they're gonna start
Yeah.
chewing or peeing on something, so it's
Yep.
always a good out. I mean, there's a lot of reasons I love my dogs, but that's
That's
helps,
one of the top three.
yeah. um and then you have Will, who has his like, where the fuck is Troy, or where the fuck is Choi, this and this and this. I know we've skipped a
Yeah.
couple things. It's like, like Sadie tries to like hit on him, and there's a few other,
Oh yeah. Well,
those sorts of
and
things.
when they first show them in the dining room, there's this like beautiful overhead shot of the table and all of the food that they're about to eat. I straight up, the first time I saw this movie, that food is poisoned. Don't eat it. They were really focusing on that food. And every time somebody took a drink, every time somebody took a bite of food, I thought they were just going to drop dead on the table. So I like that they kind of toy with you in that way of showing you like all the dinner. And then there's the cake. Every time
Yeah.
something new is introduced that people are consuming, I'm like, oh shit, this is it. This is
Yeah.
it.
That's why you BYOB.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I'll be like, no, thank you. I'll
Bring your
just be
own fucking
sipping.
birthday cake.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. BYOBC. Um and that's me. I'll just be sipping on my own beers. I'll be fine. I'm good.
I
Um
actually really like when Sadie um hits on Will at the pool because it's a perfect example of the type of person that she is in regards to this like fake confidence. She goes in and out of so many different ways of hitting on him. Like she starts off just being like, why don't you fuck me right here by this pool? Which would work for most men, I think. Most shitty men who would just not give a shit about their hot girlfriend inside would just be like, you know what, I'm gonna take her up on this offer. So I don't think she planned that far ahead to get turned down on that one. But then she
yeah.
starts getting real confident and like I could make you beg, like I could, with just the sound of my voice without even touching you. But then she's like, you can hurt me. Then she gets like desperate. And
Yeah.
I just feel like she is just watching her go through that sequence of like fuck me lines is painful. It's so painful. And Will's just not having any of it. He's like, you're fucking weird. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then
Yeah.
and then from then on out, she's just screaming. So
Yeah. And then on that,
for the
she's
rest of the movie. So I'm like,
just
that's
wonkadoodle. So maybe
certainly
he
not
should have fucked
working.
her by the pool.
But
Um,
he
yeah, then Choi is like,
dude, he finally, so Will gets the voicemail from Choi being like,
oh, it's
"Hey,
so
bro,
good.
I forgot the dessert or something.
Mhm.
Can you? But I'm here. I'm about to walk in. Can you go get it?" I thought it was really funny because Will walks in and he's like, "Well, where the fuck's Choi? He said he was going to be
Yeah.
here. What the fuck?
Oh,
And this and
so
this and
good.
this." If I were Kira, his girlfriend,
Yeah.
I would fucking just grab him and just
Yeah.
fucking as hard as I could, drag him to the side and say, "Look, we can talk through this shit. I can be on board with a lot of these things, but you need to fucking tell me if you are going to
Yeah.
like just do this in front of the entire group." He does it again as he's knocking hitting
Yeah.
everyone's drinks out of their hands, and I just be like, "Look, I'm on board, but
We
you
came
can't
here
just fucking."
together.
Yeah, we're together. You cannot spring this shit on me like this when I'm
Yeah.
in front of people, when I'm in a house I don't know, with
Yeah.
people I don't know. And you put Kira in a very, very unsafe situation when you act like that. So
Yeah. Well, and I thought about that too because I
gotta
love
think
how
that
he
stuff through.
freaks out. I love how he freaks out and is like, where the fuck is
Me
Choi?
too.
Like, where is he? Like, what happened to him? Like that? It's so good. But I absolutely agree because if you are under the impression that you're in danger and that something really bad happened to Choi, wouldn't you be a little
Look for
bit more
Choi's
cautious?
car.
Yeah.
Maybe do a
Do
little
some
bit more
investigating.
investigating.
What if somebody just pulls out a gun? obviously it's not
It
uncalled
happened.
for. Yeah, it happens. So he's really, I absolutely agree. Like at least get Kira in the loop so that you have like an exit strategy before you start just popping off at the people who are throwing this creepy dinner party.
Right. And then fucking Choi, right? Showing up. And don't get me wrong, I get
Right
it
at the
because
perfect time. Oh,
with there's some yeah, there's jobs I've had where it is really fucking annoying where I have to step aside and answer some bullshit calls and the next thing I know I'm getting dragged into something that takes, hours,
mhm.
and so I get it. I get it. Especially with the reception being a little, even though like was I don't know. But
I,
yeah, fucking Choi. God damn, dude.
Oh, and he just walks into, can you imagine be it like
Right.
from his perspective, walking into this party and it is the most awkward, uncomfortable situation that he's just entered.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. And they just give him like a full plate of food. They're like, oh, you must be hungry, man.
Mm. And then you've got yeah, and then John Carroll Lynch being like, "I'll get him the food. I'll do it." And then you have like, dude, you have Pruitt just I don't know. If y'all didn't want people to be weirded out, like you wouldn't have Pruitt just walking around like he's patrolling the place. It was
He
very
feels like a bodyguard the whole
yeah.
time. Yeah, absolutely he does. And this is where they like somewhere in this area. Oh, because they're sitting down. Maybe
Mhm.
it's like with the cake and they're he has the flashback finally of what happened to their son,
Right.
Ty, his name is. Um, and it's literally it's a kid murdering him with the bat accidentally. An
Right.
aluminum. Are they made out of aluminum? Is that right?
It depends. Yeah, but probably that one
It's
was
like
aluminum.
it looks and sounded like an aluminum bat. And fun fact, I don't remember which birthday this was. Maybe not Phil's last birthday, but the birthday before his seventh birthday. And this kid's supposed to be 5, by the way, and he's not 5. Like that actor that's playing
Mhm.
their son is not 5. He looks like he's like 8. But anyways, that's not the point. The Someone gifted Phil a bat, like a real bat, and I had already
Uh-huh.
seen this movie. I will tell you that bat has been in my garage since his birthday. I've never
Untouched.
taken it out. He's never used it. I'm so terrified of bats being around children now. That was it. That's all I needed. So it's yeah, their backstory is so sad that it's just that would be so fucked up.
Yeah, I would never let Phil see that bat. I would hide that. Absolutely. That's
Yeah,
terrible. I
yeah.
mean,
Good
like,
good parenting call.
that is good parenting. Just keep potential weapons at bay because you know what? Kids are gonna be tempted to swing things at each other. It's what they do.
Well, and here's my other unsolicited parenting advice to these two, and this is too little too late for them, but no one was playing baseball.
Well,
Like
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If you give a kid a bat, like
they
they're just
just
gonna want to
had the
swing shit at each other.
bat. Like what else were they supposed to do with the bat than just swing it around in circles? I mean, I don't know that that kid was like attacking the other one, but like just bats, just swinging them around. No, thank you.
You
Yeah.
know, bats.
Yeah, they
Sure.
the other the other interesting thing here, and I might be skipping some things, but before so you have okay, Will goes into Ty's old room, which is the office now.
Mhm.
But he sees it like as his bedroom, which totally threw me off because I was like, wow, they left the bedroom exactly the same with his toys on the floor and everything for 2 years. That is a lot. I guess it would be over 2 years.
But they like completely like well, and it's in the theme, right? Of just
Yeah.
completely just like letting go and forgetting of, letting
Yeah.
go of all pain is like that room looks nothing like what that bedroom is. It didn't even look like a bedroom anymore. I mean, even like just
Well,
the
and that really resonated with me on this watch. I think I always
Mhm.
just kind of breeze through that part of like, oh, Will's grieving and he's going into the room and he's seeing it as his son's room. But I think that's the entire point of it, is that he walked in and didn't even see it as a different room. Like, he's living in the memory of how it was, and his son, and like laying on the bed with him and smiling at him. And he's like, you know, without knowing all of his experience, like that in itself is a healthier way of grieving than what Eden is doing. And like stripping down that whole room, like you said, and turning it into this office is like, not that you can't change a room after, a loved one passes, but the way that Will immediately reminisces of, even though it's painful for him, he's getting the good things about remembering someone out of the pain as well. So the pain comes with the memory. So there's this, you can't just completely detach it, which I think that, yeah, I really felt that this time, where I was wondering like why he would even, like, all of everything's so clear, like down to the messy room. Like, I noticed on the wall, the drawer, you can see the kids' clothes are just like stuffed in and kind of sticking out. Like it looks like, but still very clean, little boy's room.
Mhm.
So I thought that was great that he had that clear of a memory of it, because he's not trying to erase his feelings like Eden is. So
And the
it
house
shows a
isn't,
lot about him.
and the house is, as much of as he does have of a connection to that house, there's a couple different points where like they make it clear that like he is still very much a stranger there. Like, one, at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
like, when Kira's like, fuck, this is your house, and he was like, it was never mine. Eden just had,
Yeah.
Eden's family had a lot of money, so it's like already there was that like kind of disassociation from it. And then the house not being as he remembered when going into that office, and that used to be Ty's bedroom. And then also, again, at the end, where he's like, oh yeah, there's an exit to the garage upstairs, let's go there, and it
Mm-hmm.
not being there. So again, just reading me
Yeah.
like, this house isn't how I remembered, nor was it ever really mine. So it, you
Mm-hmm.
know I just thought that was just interesting, just kind of like the way that kind of played in different kind of circumstances throughout the movie. And but he goes in, and that the the uh the laptop, which just happens to just I
Just
just like,
conveniently be left on the desk. Like, they knew he was going to go in there at some point, or like they allowed him to go in there
right.
and just left that laptop out. I thought that was kind of silly.
And to see, Toby Huss, the part B of that video, where it's like, all right, now kill everybody.
Now kill some bitches.
Now go fucking
Kill your
wild and
best friends.
go for it. And
Oh
and
goodness.
but again, he does it again, where he watches this and it's like, okay, they're gonna try and kill all of us. It must be in the wine everyone's drinking. And then, instead of pulling his girlfriend to the side and saying, hey, can you watch this video with me and tell me what you think? And
Yeah, no
I
one's
watched this
noticing what you're
video.
doing around the house anyway.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I know, you're pretty kind of free right through the house anyway.
Yeah.
And just to pull them aside and be like, look, can you, because again, it's like him just all of a sudden be like, get it, no, stop it, they poison us, they're trying to kill us. And then Kira's just like, fuck, dude, again, like, can you loop me in before you start making a scene in front of everybody?
Would you, after watching that, like, let's say you've made it this far through this dinner party situation, after watching that, would you think that the video is implying suicide for them, or murder and suicide? Because in my mind, like, as I was listening to it, I was like, okay, if I was like really, really trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, I would think that it was telling them to just join him, because he says, like, he says, I'll miss you, I miss you, or I'll see you soon, or we'll be together soon, or something like that. I wouldn't have interpreted that as them murdering everyone, but getting to the table and seeing the drinks, absolutely. Um, but I would still be worried for everyone's general safety. Yeah, like I don't know. I just didn't
Yeah.
interpret it as like a I don't know if that's a mass murder, if it's enough people, but a group murder.
I yeah, I'd have no interest in sticking
And
around to
finding
find
out.
out. No, I'm good.
Well, okay,
Um,
this is the other thing about when he's in that room. He asks if he can go to the room, and the answer is yes. So he's there. The laptop is conveniently placed on the table, but then David also exits the house and goes into the backyard and lights the lantern, knowing full well he's in view of where Will would be. So I felt like the lantern lighting was premature on his part.
I think
I
so.
guess
Well, I
that would
mean,
be his last opportunity to light it.
yeah, I don't know if, yeah, if who knows if the lantern's supposed to be turned on before or after the deed's been done. So, because then when you see all the lights going on the hills afterwards,
Yeah.
it's just super effective.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so he starts knocking out everybody's drinks. Doesn't
I
get to
love it.
Gina. Poor Gina.
Oh,
She's like,
Gina,
fuck.
she did not even get past the word cheers. She just took a swig of that real fast.
Well, she's already coked up.
Yeah.
She's just here, she's like, I'm just here to party.
She was there
And
for a good time, not a long time.
and I know you have that whole thing, right? And then
I just
yeah.
love the distraction of Sadie like freaking out and saying like you ruined everything, and she like attacks him, and then he pulls a Pruitt and knocks
Yeah.
her into the table, and everyone is distracted by that and just calling Will, like they're like, Will, like you really fucked up, man. And he's like having all this guilt and remorse and doubt, and then all of a sudden Gina's just on the fucking floor,
Just with, yeah, just bubbling out her fucking mouth. And it's like,
dead. Like
oh
she is
no.
dead instantly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. It's pretty, yeah, it's really
And
effective. And
quietly.
then oh yeah. And then that's when
Yeah.
like this movie, just like
Oh,
just like fucking Superman the ride at Six Flags, that's when you got your 0 to 60. You're ramping right up and you're going. And that it does not stop until the movie's over. And then, so they
yeah.
see Gina, right? Everyone starts going to Gina. And then Miguel, who is our, healthcare professional
Yeah.
of the group, tries to help Gina out, and then only to then just get shot
That
and
gets you
killed.
killed immediately if you're a healthcare professional trying to help people in a situation
Yeah.
like that. Pruitt said, or no, it was David. David said, absolutely not. How? Which was, you could see that he's like losing his composure very quickly after he fires that gun. And then Pruitt is like, hand that over to me. Like, I'm going to individually hunt down everybody one by one. It's going to be great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is one dark motherfucker. Him going around with that gun. Because
But it
Troy gets
was,
it next, right?
well, yeah, then he kills Choi, and then like Ben gets away for a minute, but they find him and kill him.
Yeah.
And then so pretty quickly
It
it's
dwindles down
just
pretty fast.
Tommy, Kira, and Will,
Mm-hmm.
who you
And you think
think
Tommy's dead for a
a
minute
minute,
because he's lying on
right?
the floor, clearly has been stabbed.
And Tommy, hey, Tommy is a real one. He fought back super hard, and he killed Sadie, right?
I'm pretty sure he killed Sadie, and then he kills David, which is great because he gets his vengeance there. But yeah, Tommy's a badass.
Yeah.
He might be one of my favorites of the survivors there. He did
Speaking
great.
of, I know how Will looks like the dude from, sorry, Tom Hardy, the dude from Tom Hardy. Tommy, looks like the dude who plays Johnny Cage in the first Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh yeah, he does.
I get those vibes. So that's why I was like, that's why I just
A little
immediately
bit.
kind of attached to him. Uh,
I've
um,
never seen that actor before. His name's Mike Doyle. I don't think I've
we'll have
ever
to do
seen
it,
him in anything.
do a deep dive or something. I love how Kira takes out Pruitt. You know, oh, it's always
Oh,
like
it's so good.
it's so brutal. It's always like the head wounds with that weird like grunt yelling, screaming, where
Oh,
it's like you can tell just like your neuro pathways or whatever,
yeah.
like your brain's just not like things aren't connecting anymore. So like all you're making is just like these like grunt like
It's like
noises, and it's
guttural
oh,
sounds.
and she
Oof.
keeps
Yeah,
going.
no,
That's the
Kira,
golden
she
rule.
fucks him
Don't
up.
stop.
Yeah, I that is that's another reason to give her like an MVP moment because she fucks him up. Yeah, she does
That
not stop.
that's why I'm like
She's not going for a knockout. She's going for the kill.
well, and that's why again it's like the and Will doesn't like and Will doesn't kill Eden but
Hmm.
because she shoots herself, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I'm like I don't know what does showing mercy do. Like Kira did not show mercy towards Pruitt. I mean, Tommy didn't show mercy towards Sadie or David, because why
Yeah.
should they? Especially when in a circumstance, in a life or death circumstance like this, right? So yeah, hell yeah for Kira and Tommy, for holding things down and
Yeah,
saving
because
the
Pruitt
day.
is terrifying. So as soon as he's out of the picture, you're like, okay, like
Yeah,
things are going to be okay for the rest of them. Also, um, let's wait. I need to know how tall he is because there's a moment where he has Will in a headlock, and it is quite like I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't be able to escape that headlock.
he is 6'3" according to IMDb.
That's tall.
That's some tall. Um, so I mean, gosh, everyone has been dispatched, and you have our three survivors: Will, Kara, and Tommy. Um, Kira just goes and gives Tommy a big hug and fuck, like, I'm so
Hmm.
sorry, this and this and this. Even though I'm like, they gave each other a hug like they've known each other for years too.
So I think they actually had met before based off of how they said hello at the beginning
Did they?
because of the
When did they allude to that?
so in the beginning when Kira says hello to everyone, it felt like she had already met Tommy and Miguel.
Okay.
The way that she like
Hmm.
says hello to them, he says something like hi beautiful and like gives her like a really big hug like he had met her at least once before, but
Hmm.
their comfort level seemed higher. I don't know.
Well, and if anything, they went through a pretty serious situation together. So I'd be like,
Yeah, I mean,
hey, fuck, look at us. We made it. Look at that. But
mhm.
fuck, bro. Miguel, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
God damn, that's not
that's
fair.
yeah, that's not fair.
And then that's when they go out, and then you see, well, I thought is a really effective ending, right? Is you go and see all of those red lights light up all
Hmm.
across the hills there.
Did you
And
count
so
them?
I'm
Because I did.
Jesus, no. There's so many of them. You counted all of them?
Yeah, there weren't that many. There were 10.
No, there were more than 10,
Yeah,
right? For some
there
reason,
were
I felt like the
10.
whole.
So
Dang, okay.
you can't see to the left, like their view to the left. You can only see that hill to the right in that last shot where the helicopters are circling and there's 10 lanterns.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Well, that's still a lot, right? Because if you
Which
imagine,
still,
like,
if
probably how many
everybody
people at each
had like
one.
10 people at their party, I mean, you're looking at least 100 people.
Yeah, fuck that noise. Yep, that's why I just don't. As much as I love dinner party horror movies, I mean, I know better to be very wary of dinner parties in general in real
Yeah,
life.
we
So,
we learned
yeah,
our
I'm good.
lesson to not go. Yeah, don't go.
Yeah. Um, so, well, I didn't think to ask you. So when at this point, like when in any of these series of events would you have said, "Nope, I'm out.
The
I'm getting
video,
out of here." The video, yeah, me too.
the video 100% because it wouldn't, while it would bother me that someone just showed me a video of someone dying, that isn't even the worst part. It's the implication of you being in a cult, inviting me over here to try to like convert me into it. I feel like that is such a disrespect of your boundaries as friends. And like the trust there. Yeah, it that would be so much for I would just be like, I'm fucking out of here. I'm not staying for dinner. That was weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
I that would be it.
Hmm.
I wouldn't have made it to the game.
That's fair. I'd be like, look at this video of Toby Huss. You all want to watch this? I might be
Yeah.
interested. If it was actually Toby Huss, I'd be like, oh, that's weird. Toby Huss is running a cult. I'll watch that
Oh, he
video.
started a cult. That's
Um,
interesting. Tell me more.
um, and then of course, right? The easy joke is, um, do you think this affects the market value for those homes in any way whatsoever on those hills in Los Angeles?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Hmm.
More so for the neighbors that didn't have lanterns.
I mean, I guess I see it as kind of a situation like, okay, you have one ritual cult murder suicide in this entire neighborhood, right? This one time this happened, right? I mean, I kind of see it as like it's like lightning, what are the chances of getting struck twice, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But I guess if anywhere
fair.
in Southern California, like the chances of another cult popping up are pretty common.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I feel like that would not go over well because they would have to, I mean, at least in the state of California, they'd have to disclose that there were violent deaths that happened there with at least within a couple of years. But there are people, I really think there are people who would scoop it up, but it would be for a lot less than it's worth.
yeah,
That's a great question.
I feel like you know what? It's like not only do I think this could actually happen, but also not going to name names, but I feel like I know people in my life that I could totally see getting involved in something tangentially, I don't know, close to this or adjacent is what I mean, not tangentially, but
I hope
adjacently
I'm
close to this.
I hope I'm not on that list.
Not one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to reveal that here. But but yeah, so I mean, so that takes us to the end of the movie. I thought the ending was really effective, seeing all the lanterns come up. I think visually that was
Hmm.
really cool. And then I don't know if the helicopters were like in response to that or like also like, there's always like helicopters like in Los Angeles, it's like just
Well,
doing
you
like
can
traffic reports and shit. So
hear
like I don't know.
when they're looking out over the hill, you can hear like people screaming
Yeah.
and like other things like that. I would assume that somebody got cell service and called 911, but they the no the no like bars situation that they have devices that can like block your phones. I would guess that all of them did something
Mhm.
like that just to like as an insurance policy that like I just don't see it being likely that in the hills of LA even that you wouldn't have cell service. That's I call bullshit on that.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Um now that we've reached the end of this movie,
Mm.
as all of our listeners know, we're workshopping a patent pending rating system, 1 to 5 booze. We will accept half booze. Um, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I will go first.
Love it.
I believe you went first last time.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
That this is a this is a this is a good movie for me. I really enjoy this movie. The only thing that it gets negative marks for, I don't think that it has as high of rewatchability as some of my other favorites. So I feel like I have to be a little bit harsh in my critique of that because rewatchability is one of my biggest requirements of
Mhm.
like a favorite movie. That being said, I would recommend this movie to anyone, even if they didn't like horror. Like if they liked thrillers or like horror adjacent type things, I would recommend this movie to so many people because I do think that it's a genuinely good movie. Gosh, I'm really torn. I
Yeah,
never plan ahead. I wait until we're done.
I love it. Me neither.
I'm gonna give it 4.5 booze.
Hell yeah, that's
It
what's up.
loses a half. It loses a half boo for the low rewatchability. Because every time you watch it, if you watch it too frequently, you're losing a little bit of that tension and that suspense. So, having watched it 6 months ago and then today, I I felt a little bit less tension. And so, you know,
I I'd
that
alluded
makes
to
it a
that a
little less
little
fun.
bit. Yeah, I'd alluded to that a little bit earlier, where it's like I feel like the first watch, 5 fucking boos. Like that's
Oh
great.
yeah, the
Like
first
it
watch, absolutely 5 booze. Yeah.
and but I think it settles into, for me, I'm gonna give it four boos.
Ooh.
After kind of crunching the numbers, taking the industry legend, part of it, how does this add in? I'm going to collectively give John Carroll Lynch and Toby Huss half a boo for their participation. I would give it 4.5, but I'm including coyotes with dog deaths,
Oh my
so that's going to
goodness.
knock it down for me a little bit.
So brief.
Um, yeah, what do you mean so brief? They sit there and they keep
That's gonna be
shifting the
we're
camera
gonna have
to
to
them.
make like we're gonna have to make a Kyle cut of this movie where we just take out the coyote scene
You could
so
you could
that you
take it out
can you could push it
entirely.
to so you could push it up.
Yeah. So I am going to give it a very strong 4 boos. I think it's awesome. I love just everybody should watch it at least once to get that initial kind of rush. I think it's really fun. So I'm gonna go with 4 boos. I don't know if I like.
No,
Yeah,
that's
we'll
solid.
sit with the 4. Yeah,
Yeah.
high praise. And I think that might be. Well, I don't know. It's funny because I also never remember what we rate other
You
movies.
said you've been writing this down.
I've absolutely not been writing any
Oh,
of it
goodness
down.
gracious. We're gonna have
I
to go through, we're gonna have to listen to ourselves rate these movies and then go back
know,
and write it down. I can do that work. I'll
but I think,
rank everything.
but yeah, I think we're pretty close on this one, 4 and 4.5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, gosh, look at us winding down.
The
Anything else you
only
want to talk about? Yeah.
question, yeah, the only question that I didn't ask you is
Uh-huh.
the first time you watched this movie, at any point, did you think that there was a chance that it was just a fake out and there was nothing like that was actually going to happen? Like as bad as what did happen, like that they were just trying to convert them to this cult and it was just, that's it. Simple as
It
that.
was just so like it turns out that it was like just so it was so the cult stuff is still there, just not the the violence and the murder.
Yeah, because the first time I watched it, I was like, it would be pretty clever if it was just they're just super weird. They're in this cult. And when Choi enters the picture, I thought for a second, I was like, damn, is Will like really just reading into this like way too much? Like, did they fake me out? Because it is a longer movie. It's an hour, I think it's an hour and 40.
Long by our standards. Yeah.
Yeah, it's long for us.
Hour
We like
40 might as well
a
be
cool
fucking,
90 minutes.
yeah.
And so, when I looked at the runtime, I was like, oh, I guess like at that point when Choi like enters the picture, it could be less complicated, but that wouldn't have been as fun.
Yeah. No, I think the movie would have been like two boos if that were the case.
Yeah.
I want to see some chaos. I want to see some
Yeah.
violence and some murder,
I didn't
right?
expect
That's
it
what
to
I
be
signed up
that
for.
chaotic. Like it
Yeah.
it it ramps up to a 10 on
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah. Well, gosh, here we are. I think we have certainly said most of what needed to be said about the invitation. Remember, please, this is not about the 2022 vampire dinner movie, The Invitation. So if you've made it this far into the podcast and none of what we were talking about was making any sense, you need to go back, watch this movie,
Watch the movie and then re-listen.
and start over all over again. Probably just start at episode 1 with Final Destination and just start just again the whole thing through.
Yeah, absolutely.
So cool. Well, here we are. Take care, everybody. We will see you next time. Natalie, always a pleasure.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks everyone for listening.
Of course. 3, 2, 1, ghost.
Thanks for listening to our episode on The Invitation. Now that we've seen the truth and shared it with you, give us a follow on Instagram at 321GhostPod to see what we've got coming up in the near future. The hardest thing is to start. Just take this step. You can leave us a review on most any platform you're listening on. So please believe and give yourself over with a 5-star review. If you'd like to reach out by email with any comments, suggestions for movies you'd like to hear us chat about, or general dinner party ideas, you can reach out to us at 321ghostpod@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening. I love you all. I love you so much. My heart is breaking. I'm waiting for you. 3, 2, 1, ghost.